have you understand the team that you're part of. I want you to understand that Gary and Linda Gordon are some of the most phenomenal leaders of the whole business, of the Amway business around the world. I want you to understand that because you see them every week, you may not understand the wisdom that they have. One thing I don't know if you understand is their mentors, Jimmy and Patty Goldberg, are phenomenal. I mean, Jimmy and Patty, business in Spain, over 20,000 people that he's never even been to Spain before. Do you understand the kind of huge volume that they do? They've broken diamonds and diamonds and diamonds and diamonds. You understand their mentor, Scott and MJ Michael, I think they've broken over 20 some odd diamonds and above. Do you understand their mentors, Dexter and Bertie Yeager? They created this crazy thing that we call internet services that we can literally bless people and say, hey man, check out the CD. The reason that people go to Free Enterprise is to get around the team, and get around the atmosphere, get around the excitement. But if you get around Dexter and Bertie, which Gary and Linda get around Scott and MJ and get around Dexter, we're backstage. Lily, Mark and I and other people were backstage because we want to associate with the other winners. That's a privilege and honor that we've been given. We're very fortunate at that. You build a business to a certain level, you get afforded that same privilege. And you get around people like that at a caliber, you change. So what I want you to know is that the people that are coming up next, they've changed my life. They poured into me. When they asked me to say, are you planning on coming? In fact, when he told me that you guys were doing a meeting, I said, I'm there. And he said, well, would you be willing to talk a little bit? I said, dude, anybody can serve you, man, I'll be serving you forever because you guys are awesome. Because he's fed me and fed me and fed me. Gary and Linda have changed my life. And they're changing your life. If you apply what they know and do as they do, you'll have what they have. You're exactly right. So please welcome to the front of the room my friends, your mentors, Gary and Linda Gordon.
Okay, I appreciate that, Greg. Appreciate that, those kind words. Sometimes I just wonder, if we're really worthy of that. But that's why we're going to keep stretching ourselves too, and doing what it takes for you guys to experience what we've been able to experience in this crazy thing. Because it's been a phenomenal ride for us, and you know what? We're just getting started.
Yeah.
We are just getting started. We really are. So hang in there. We're the last speakers here, so if you can hang in there a little longer. It's been a great day, hasn't it, though?
Absolutely.
So I'm going to let Linda kick it off, and I'll be back in a few minutes. She's been a great supporter from day one. She's been in there with me, and I'm just really proud of her. And she's a real blessing for us all, not just me.
Well, I don't even know what I can add to this day. I mean, this has been amazing. I've enjoyed listening to every single person that's been up here. I mean, some of you are just amazing. You have hardly been in the business, even a month, and the things that you're saying are just so right on. You're right there. You're just a diamond in the rough, as they say. And it's just, it's been great to hear all of you. It was great to hear the afternoon speaker with Chip Wall. I mean, I learned a lot from him, and I'm a diamond. So, if I learned a lot, I'm sure that you all learned a lot too. And now we just need to take it home and apply it because, that's where it really happens. It really happens when you leave this room and you go out there and you start building your business again. It's not, it's great and you're all excited when you're in the room and when you're at the seminars. And I know because this is the same way I felt. And, then you got to take it out and go out next week and start working with it and apply what you've learned tonight. But I'm going to just touch on a couple of things here. Some of the things have already kind of been talked about, and I'm going to, touch on them again. One of those things, as a matter of fact, is commitment. I know Mike talked about that a little bit earlier about being, committed to your products and to the system. And, what is the definition of commitment? He kind of gave you a Latin version, and I had looked it up myself, and commitment actually means an agreement or a pledge to do something in the future or the state of being obligated. And you know, we make all kinds of commitments in life. You make commitments to your spouse, to your children, to your boss, but what about to ourselves? And Mike kind of alluded to that too. You know, are you willing to commit to your own self and to your own financial future? How obligated are you to you? How committed are you to your financial future? You know, it's not about somebody else's financial future like your boss. It's about your financial future and about you helping others to achieve what their potential is. And you know, when you make a real commitment to someone or to something, you commit, you know, everything, you give it everything 110%. And if you don't, then you're really going to let somebody down, including yourself, if you don't give 110%. And most of you are committed to your jobs because that's your source of income. And, you know, you work for somebody else and you're dependent on that person and that business. Today, that can be a pretty scary thing with the way the economy is. You can't depend on that anymore. You can't depend on somebody else. That business may not be there next week or next month. There are so many businesses that are closing left and right, businesses that you would never have dreamed would go out of business, and they're not there anymore. And so if you're really serious about, you know, wanting to be financially free and not wanting to depend on somebody else, then the question is, are you willing to make an agreement with yourself or to make a commitment to you? Because in order to build a successful business, commitment is how it starts. I mean, you know, on the board we had up here, the dream is the first thing. Well, that's the idea. That's what gets you, you know, thinking about the business. But to get it started, you know, you have to have a commitment, because without a commitment, there is no business, and there's no obligation or no agreement to do anything. And, you know, there's a saying, it's been on Fox News a lot this past week, and we use it in this business a lot too. It says the height of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. And the height of insanity, think about that. Height of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And, you know, is that you? Are you like that little duck in the arcade game? You know, you go back and forth, and all of a sudden they shoot at you, and you start going the other way, and they shoot at you, and you start going the other way. And you do that same thing over and over and expect different results. It's not working that way. There's another saying that goes along with that too. Says if you want to change some things in your life, then maybe you need to change some things in your life. And the question is, do you need to change some things in your life? You know, if you're sitting there right now asking, you know, yourself, is she talking about me? Then the answer is probably yes. Sometimes, you know, life just gets in the way. We have good intentions, but stuff happens. And the problem that comes in when we don't take control of the situation and we let everything else control us, you know, that's the problem. And so you have to take control of that situation, and you know, don't let things control you, but you take control of it. And one of the best things that you can do to keep something like that from happening is to have a plan. I know from my own personal experience that I get a whole lot more accomplished in a day if I have a schedule to follow than if I don't. And you know, anybody in this room can probably agree with me on that, because I know we've all been there, and it just really keeps you, you know, on track if you have things written down. How many of you have ever been on a diet? You don't really have to actually answer that question, but I can relate to this, so that's why I use this. But if you've ever been on a diet, typically they say to, you know, plan your meals ahead. Write down the menu the night before. That way, when it's time to eat, you don't choose your foods according to, you know, what you're hungry for. You already know ahead of time, you know, what it is that you're going to eat. So mentally, you've kind of prepared yourself for that. And I can tell you, like I said, from personal experience, that this does work. Otherwise, I might feel like eating a pizza or a plate of nachos or, you know, something bad like that. And guess what? If I start craving it, chances are I'm going to go off the diet, and I'm probably going to give in and ruin everything that I've worked for. And so, you know, it's no different when you're planning your day. If you just fly by the seat of your pants, you're not going to be very organized, and you won't get very much accomplished. So, you know, you're more likely to get distracted by, you know, what you feel like doing rather than, you know, doing the things that you need to be doing. And so if you've already got it planned out, then again, mentally, you're prepared for that. And, you know, if you've planned correctly, you should have enough time, in the day to do, everything that you've got scheduled. And maybe this is, a change that maybe you need to make. Maybe you need to stop banging your head against the wall and get organized. I know that was a problem for me. I had no organization in my life. I'd be thinking about all the things I needed to do that day, and probably get 2 or 3 things out of the 25 things that I wanted to do done because I didn't have it written down. But I found when I started keeping a schedule and I started planning things, that I was able to get a whole lot more accomplished in my day. And also, in order to use your time effectively, you need to prioritize. I think, what was it, Todd that mentioned, when you leave out pieces of the puzzle, it can be frustrating. Well, by prioritizing, you can alleviate some of that frustration, So first sit down and make a list of everything that you want to accomplish, and then decide, what's the most important? What things do I need to do first? Which also means then that you're going to have to decide, on your short-term and long-term goals, so that you know what it is you need to accomplish in that short period of time versus what you can do over a longer period of time. For instance, if your goal is to build a big business so that you can become financially independent, then you want to put anything else or anything that has to do with your business, you want to do before the other things, like spending time with your friends, going and playing sports, watching TV, hanging out at the beach, or whatever it is that you like to do. And of course, if you're working a job, then you obviously have to fit that in there as well, at least for the time being. And it's also important to have a break. I mean, you don't have to, if you have a family, especially, you need that family time, and you need to make sure that you schedule that in on a regular basis. Nobody needs to be a workaholic. You just need to be consistent. And you've heard that talked about tonight as well, consistency. And by prioritizing and making a schedule for yourself, then you're not just going to get more accomplished, but you're also going to become more consistent. Even in other aspects of your life, you'll find that you get more done because you've planned it into your schedule. And with consistency comes harmony. And by that I mean when you're consistent, things just seem to flow better. Then there's a lot less chaos, and therefore when you're more organized and more precise, it helps things happen more in a pattern, and you get, like, when you're consistent, things become a habit or natural, and you're more in control. The 21-day challenge, that's a classic example. It teaches you to become consistent. If you do something over and over repeatedly, it does become a habit. It becomes natural. It's easy to do, and when you're consistent, you get results. And so if you're one of those people who feels like you're going crazy because too much is happening and too many things are happening at once, and there's not enough hours in the day, and you want to get more done, but you feel like things are just kind of out of control, then maybe you need to change some things in your life. We've talked a lot tonight about free enterprise. The reason we talk about free enterprise isn't, for our benefit. If you don't go, you're the one that's losing out. It's not us. But see, we know what you're going to miss. And that's the problem, because you come home from free enterprise, and if you go, let me tell you what, you'll come home from there and you'll be talking to somebody that wasn't there, and you won't even be able to describe it. You won't even be able to tell them what they missed, because it's just, you have to be there. It's one of those things where you have to be there. You have to experience it. But free enterprise is the biggest seminar of the year, and it can change your life, not only your business but your life. And so we really we want that for you. We want you to be there. Are you committed to going? Do you have your ticket yet? If you don't, I do have ticket forms available in the back of the room tonight, but are you committed to that? Are you committed to the seminars? Is it a priority? Are you being consistent when it comes to going to seminars? You're here tonight, but are you going to be at that next one at Free Enterprise? Because that's where the commitment and prioritizing and consistency come in. And so again, commitment, priorities, consistency. In the famous words of Larry the Cable Guy, get her done.
All right. guys excited yet? All right. Where do I start? I have a hard time topping my wife. She's great, isn't she?
Awesome.
Oh, man. I'm just blessed to have her on my side. And, people ask me sometimes, like, because a lot of days, we're just home. What do you do all day long? And fortunately, it's a blast when you have choices and options every day. We wake up and like, all right, what are we going to do today? How many times do we say this, honey? It's amazing. Like, so, what time are we going to get up tomorrow? And, what are we going to do? And it could be Saturday, Tuesday, it could be Saturday, Wednesday, but there's a lot of days like that. Some days we have things planned, and some days we have commitments we got to do, but a lot of days are a Saturday. And I want you guys to really remember that, because that's what it's all about. We could sit here and we can tell you about the boats, we can tell you about the cars and the homes we've had over the years. I love our home now. We just have so much fun. We're out in our pool and hot tub 3-4 nights a week. We really use the stuff, okay? We've had a lot of great boats over the years, and, especially since we went in Diamond, we used our boats. Where so many people have things, but they have the material things, like, let's say that I did as a dentist, but they don't have the time to use them. And there's a huge difference in the lifestyle. Again, we had the lifestyle as a dentist we had the material things. And I worked myself up to the height of that profession with 3 practices. But what I didn't have was the time. We had the boats, the cars, the homes. But I'll tell you what, if you're stressed out and you don't have the time to use that stuff, you're no better off than anybody else. In fact, you might be more stressed out. See, the material things, you guys, you're fired up about getting the cars and there's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. I want you guys to get fired up about some of that stuff. But what you'll find is the most precious thing on this planet is freedom. Your personal freedom, and also freedom about your country too, by the way, as we talked about earlier. Because we're going to change lives one person at a time, as I said earlier. But there's nothing like your personal freedom too. Waking up every day doing what you want to do. Choices and options. What would you guys do with total freedom? Wrap your brain around that, because it gets good. See, most people get in this business and they ask the wrong question. They ask, like, do I want to do it? Do you want to do it? Well, a lot of us go, well, not really, because I'm lazy. Inherently, we're all lazy, right? We'd rather be lazy. But the question that people need to ask themselves, and you got to continue to ask yourself every day, is not do you want to do it, but would you like it if it worked? And where are you going to be in the next 5 years if you keep doing what you're doing? And I got honest with myself, because I knew the answer to that question. If I kept doing what I was doing, I was still going to be stressed out, working 3 dental practices, playing around the spit all day, and I wasn't going to have my freedom. It's pretty simple. So anyway, so many of us stop dreaming the older we get. And for a lot of you young people, maybe you haven't experienced that yet. We all have good intentions when we're younger. Usually when we're 18, 19, all of a sudden, we got dreams of where we'd like to be when we're 25, 30, 35. I know you're all here tonight because you care about your families, you care about yourself, you care about your futures. But we get stuck in that program of home to work, time for money. And this business is so non-traditional that we see it that sometimes it's hard to wrap our brain around that there is another way that can actually work. So we saw the business, because I had stopped dreaming. My dream was to travel the world. I wanted to spend a lot more time on the water because I'm a boataholic and a beachaholic. And it wasn't happening where I was at, because I was working too many hours. I got my time on my boats, but it wasn't a lot. And the first night I got to this business in front of me, and thank the Lord that my sponsor called me, because why did he put me on his list? Because he said, I've heard Gary, I haven't talked to him in 15 years. He's a old fraternity brother, but I heard he had 3 dental practices, so I don't think he'd be interested. And his upline said, give him a call. Thank God he did. Or where would I be today? I'd be in Flint, Michigan, working in those 3 offices yet. Where would you be? It's crazy, isn't it? It's a thin thread. It's a thin thread. But anyway, back to where I was. I'm getting off track here, but I get excited. I got fired up about a dream, a dream called freedom. And a dream is what you need. I don't know what yours is, but you better get passionate. Somebody said earlier today, well, you need to get passionate about something. You get passionate about it, you get it deep inside of you, you get emotional about it, people see that. And I was very shy. I was not outgoing, but I had a dream and I was passionate about it, and people knew that I believed where I was going. And we started putting this thing together. It's crazy. And, you know, I kept listening to the CDs, by the way. I listened to the audios. I read the books. And I hated to read after I got out of school. I said I'd never read again. Some of you could probably relate to that. But that system is so powerful. And I started reading. You know, and I got consistent. And I love the book by Alan Pease, Questions Are the Answers. Every day you need to go back to your reason, your why, and then get good at identifying that in your prospects and your IBOs, because it's the only thing that matters. You'll figure out all the other stuff. You heard that earlier today too, if you got the reason. But I love his 5 things. You know, what's your number 1 priority? What is it? Why is that important to you? Why did you pick that one? You know, what are the consequences if you don't get it? Would that bother you? By that time, the person's getting irritated, right? But that's why you continually dwell on how bad do they want those things? How bad do you want those things? Because if you want them bad enough, you'll keep press and play every day and listen to the audios. And that's what I kept doing. I kept reading. You know, and of course the last question you know, would that bother, what are the consequences if you don't get that? Would that bother you? And by the way, do you have another way of getting that, doing what you're doing? That's real important. And most people got to be honest with themselves and say, no, I don't. Well, I knew I didn't, so I kept reading and listening. We got to our first major function. Did that make a huge difference, Linda? That made a huge difference, because then we saw the big picture of what this is all about. You don't know what you're in until you've been to your first major function. And you guys are going, right. Yeah. I mean, because you know what I mean, those of you who've been to a major function, especially for your enterprise, because that's the granddaddy of them all. So anyway, you know, this is so simple, but it's hard to explain to people after a simple 1-hour presentation when they first see the business. There's so many serendipities to this business. It's so huge, okay? But basically, you know, believe it or not, you know, we have fun, we make money and make a difference, right? Have fun, make money, and make a difference. Now, does it ever concern you guys which one of those 3 things bother people? Think about it. We have fun, make money, make a difference. I scratch my head a lot of times. I'm sure you do too, and that's what's frustrating about the business, is that not everybody can see the whole picture right away. But this is a win-win. See, that's what I've always loved about it. It's a win-win. Zig Ziglar, the greatest ever, he says, if you help enough other people get what they want, you can have what you want. That's the epitome of this business, is helping, lifting others up. You could help others make more money than you. It's a call to win-win. You determine what's enough. Not your boss. You determine what's enough. When you want to stop. When you want to relax. Okay, we moved to Naples. We relaxed for 6 years. And we're still not, like, killing ourselves or anything, are we? Yeah, we're working at something again. It's a lot of work. But I'm working tonight. This is going to be a 6-hour day for me. So, let me throw this out, too. Because this is the world's #1 business opportunity. And it is. And you know, you look around, and if you really research, you can't argue with that. Get this. Most of you might be using the TL104. It's a little thing in the first night information the Internet Services has from the Jaeger system. And on the front page of that little, what would you call that? A brochure. Flip it open, and there's suggested websites for credible information to go to. And I was checking some of those out the other day because I'm always, I want to see what our prospects are seeing, what information. Anyway, and then one of the websites, I recommend you checking this out too, is IBOFacts.com. IBOFacts.com. Now, if you go to IBOFacts.com, here's what it says in the first sentence on that website that Amway puts together. IBO Facts provides answers to questions about Amway North America, sharing information about the world's leading business opportunity with facts, not opinions. Go on there and read that. Now, but you understand what I just said? Provides information, sharing information about the world's leading business opportunity. Amway would not say that if they didn't know it was true. They'd be litigated, I'm sure. That is a powerful statement in itself. We are the world's leading business opportunity. I'd like to see something that's any better, that has no risk because there's no capital investment, but you can be financially independent in 2 to 5 years. Now, and of course, for years we said, hey, you got something better than that? Just show me what it is. I'd love to see it. Bring it up to me. That has no, anyway, it's so exciting when you see what we've got. World-class products. We were leading in environmental products before it was cool. We got the UN Environmental Award before anybody knew what environmental stuff was. They were doing it years before. Research and development, second to none in the world. Scientists, the studies, the patents, the endorsements. You saw some of the endorsements with Miss America, Kurt Warner, the teams involved with this. It's crazy. All over the world, endorsements, too numerous to mention. Best customer service anywhere. Best warranty on our products, 180 days. I mean, what more could we ask for? And have you seen what we give to charities, to the community, what this company gives back? It's amazing. Comp plan, our compensation plan, the only one that's ever been FTC sanctioned. We are the industry standard. Anybody else comes along has to match up to our plan, and nobody does. You look at the other ones, nobody matches up to our comp plan, not even close. And on top of that, we have the Jaeger system. Number one by far, nobody can match the Jaeger system. Number one in the industry with a track record. You guys excited about that? Yeah. How many are excited about the recession? Yeah. Okay. I mean, how many are not going to participate? Yeah. Woo! Yeah, man. I mean, things are bad out there. They really are, but that gives us a phenomenal opportunity. We haven't had this kind of, it's been since the Great Depression, 60 years ago, 7 years ago since we had this kind of economy. And it's not going to get better overnight, but that gives us an opportunity like we haven't seen in a long time. There's people that are hurting out there, and we can change their life. So I just want to encourage you. How many know, well, the story about the guy that went into the bank? He asked his banker, he was looking for financial advice, he said to his banker, how do I go about setting up a small business? And the banker says, real simple. I'll just buy a big one and wait a while. Right? You heard that one? Yeah. I mean, things are bad. They're not like they used to be. They're real bad. They caught a bunch of Americans trying to sneak into Mexico the other day. Things are bad here. So anyway. Well, you guys are just getting that. Right? It's a slow process. So let me say this. Now, this is powerful. Because the system, read, listen, associate, attend. And because what you are, this is another one by Zig Ziglar. You are where you are, who you are, and where you're going because of what goes into your mind and what's gone into your mind in the past, right? You can change who you are, what you are, who you are, and where you're going by changing what goes into your mind. And so what we encourage, and the system tells you on a daily basis, and you've heard it before today. You've heard it all day. What goes into your mind? Listen, read, attend. The reason I bring this up, to finish some thoughts here, is, do any of you guys know any negative people at all? Just possibly. Do you know any people that may not be supportive of you and your business? My own mom, right, exactly. Well, my mom wasn't exactly excited either because she thought I was a successful doctor, as you know. So I've shared that before. And I had to keep reminding her, no, Mom, I'm not a doctor. I'm a dentist, that's all. So anyway, but she's, a few years later after we went diamond, we took all of our parents, all 4 of them all over the world. Of course, they're very positive. But sometimes you just have to ignore the critics, right? Right. I don't have to tell you that. But here's my point of this whole thing. Be careful of the company you keep. You got to be careful. Lynn and I mean, we've got friends outside the business. We have a lot of friends outside the business. Here in Michigan and all over the place. All right? You know, but I'll tell you this. If they're negative, if they're ever negative in general, just about things, or they're not supportive, or they're critical, we wouldn't be hanging around them. I can guarantee, flat out guarantee it. But they're not. So that's a good thing. But I had an IBO bring this to me, and I want to read a couple of these things because you do want to watch the company you keep. Listen to this. I thought this was very good. I mean, and we get so much from reading different books, but this is a good synopsis of, you know, you are what goes into your mind. You are who you're a product of who you associate with. Listen to this. This is some good stuff. It's better to be alone than in the wrong company. Some of you might not want to hear some of this stuff. Tell me who your best friends are, and I'll tell you who you are. If you run with the wolves, you'll learn how to howl. But if you associate with eagles, you'll learn how to soar to great heights. A mirror reflects a man's face, but what he really is like is shown by the kind of friends he chooses. The simple but true fact of life is that you become like those with whom you closely associate for the good and for the bad. The less you associate with some people, the more your life will improve. Hello. Anytime you tolerate mediocrity in others, it increases your mediocrity. An important attribute in successful people is their impatience with negative thinking and negative acting people. As you grow, your associates will change. Some of your friends will not want to go on. They'll want you to stay where they are. Friends that don't help you climb will want you to crawl. Your friends will stretch your vision or choke your dream. Those that don't increase you will eventually decrease you. One more thing, so consider this. Never receive counsel from unproductive people. Never discuss your problems with someone incapable of contributing to the solution, because those who never succeed themselves are always the first to tell you how. I thought that was great. And that was brought to me by a new IBO. Just getting involved. So, how are you programming that computer up here? Are you programming your 6 inches between your, you each have a hard drive up here. It's called your brain. The 6 inches between your ears. I just want to encourage you to keep programming it by listening and reading positive stuff from successful people who have walked the path that we're walking. And that's all Lynn and I did. We are totally products of the system. We are no better than anybody. And you've seen great examples earlier today how people have overcome some great challenges. You know, and are all of a sudden, like your earlier speaker, speaking all over the world. When he, with the background he came from, it's pretty amazing. Anyway, so, and I know everybody, are you guys excited about your future in here? Yeah! That's great because, you know, everybody in here is excited now. It's been a great day, and it's coming to a close, but, you know, the path to success and the road to dreams, you know, it's paved with good intention, right? Character is what happens Monday when you're alone. What are you going to do Monday when you're by yourself? So as excited as you guys are tonight, there's going to be obstacles. We talk about that all the time. There's going to be distractions. There's Dexter Yeager. Crap happens. And it's not what happens to you, it's how you react to it. But you've got to expect crap. You got to expect obstacles. You got to expect distractions. It's going to happen. So I look at so many of you, and you're all excited tonight. But I can tell you in 6 to 12 months, some of you won't be here. And in 6 to 12 months, some will be moving towards platinum and beyond. And you know, the only difference is what you do when those obstacles arise. Because they're going to happen. And if you keep pressing play, I mean, there's going to be times that you're going to have them, and you may not be able to contact, you may not be able to be as active for a few days or maybe a couple weeks or whatever. But I can tell you, the Platinums, the Emeralds, and Diamonds, the only thing they've done different is when they had obstacles, they continue to press play. They continue to read. This only takes 15, 20 minutes a day. They figured out a way to do that no matter what's going on in their life. And they got to the, monthly functions. They got around the weekly functions, whatever. They did that one thing. I mean, if you get an obstacle, something hitting you, are you not going to go to work next week for 5 days? Think about that, because we put this business, we sometimes do the craziest things. This business is 5 to 10 hours a week. It's not 40 or 60. 5, 10, 15, depends on what you want to put into it, how bad you want to grow, how fast you want to grow it. So when those obstacles come, we still go to work. We might take a day off if we have to. But that's the difference. That's going to make all the difference for you guys. So I want to encourage you to remember that when those obstacles hits. Because restarting is hard. When you get out of the system and you get away from it, it's hard to restart. Some of you know what I mean that have restarted. But it all comes down to going back to the dream, the reason, the purpose, and going back and reading the L&P stuff again. Let's go back to your number one priority. Is that still important to you, or have you given up on it? Is that important to you? I mean, what about those consequences? Why did you pick that? Is that going to bother you if you don't get it? Now, what are the consequences if you don't get it? Remember why you're doing this. And when those frustrating times come, read that goal card. Get it in front of you. And remember why. And you know what? Sometimes we forget the blessings of this business and this system. And I really want to cover that. Some of you have heard me say some of this stuff before, but I want to cover that before we finish here tonight. The blessings of this are so many that it's hard to put a price on them. But we become better people for it. And sometimes it's frustrating because when we see the business, what did you see the first night you saw the business? And some of you have barely seen the business but once here today. There's so much to it. There's so many aspects to it that are so powerful. Whether it's the product, it's not just, we got the world-class products, world-class, we've already talked about all that. There's so many things. But we become better people. How can you impart that in 60 minutes to people? It's impossible, and that's what's frustrating. For us who knows all the great serendipities of this business. What did you see? And so then you wonder why you get frustrated when people don't pick up on that right away. And sometimes we just got to understand that because it's so hard to get rid of our programs because we're programmed to think a certain way since we're 5 years old, right? It's just the way it is. But, what did you see when you first saw the plan? It's virtually impossible to explain it in 60 minutes. Did you see, did you see these things? It's an educational system that teaches us so many different things. It teaches us to care about people again. Learning that people are different and they think different just because they're different than you doesn't necessarily mean they're stupid, right? When I got in, I remember Lynn and I saying, well, how come everybody's messed up but me and you? And sometimes I wonder about you. We were in a paradigm. We were in a narrow paradigm. This business has changed our thinking. Sometimes we get in this and we've got to learn to trust people again. Some of us, from years of getting burned and being taken advantage of and just negative things around us, sometimes we build a shell up around our heart year after year of negative stuff, and it becomes difficult to love other people. And sometimes we get to such a point that we don't even realize that there's people out there that are good people that we can trust. right? I mean, it's amazing. But here's a business that you can, because we would not tell you anything that didn't make sense, that wasn't positive to help you, because if we help you, it's a win-win for us too. And that's the beauty of this system, is that we're there for you. We would never steer you wrong because it would hurt us. We're in there. This team is powerful. This system is powerful. But again, trying to impart that on the new person is sometimes difficult. I mean, how many of you saw, that glimmer of hope the first night you saw the business that maybe you haven't had in years? And that's what we do with people. We open up a glimmer of hope again. It's about just maybe, possibly, there's a way that we can change the destiny of our lives and many others. And it's true, because we can. It's learn to sharpen up your image. So sometimes we just need to love ourselves first before we can love other people. Sharpen up our image, get our self-esteem about us, and all of a sudden, we learn to love other people and see in other people things that they can't see in themselves yet, because we know that others can change, because we know what change we went through. How many of you tonight, and you've seen some of the speakers today, I can tell you there's been a phenomenal amount of change. And we know if we can change, so can you. I know many of you in here, just because of this system, have changed your addictions, okay? You're addicted to a dream, all right? Rather than something else, maybe, or alcohol or cigarettes or whatever. And I can tell you, I've seen a lot of people back off of their alcohol or quit smoking or whatever. And I've never said anything to anybody. Right, guys? I've never said anything to anybody. You need to quit this or do this. No, it's your choice. But because of this environment, many of you have. And that's just as powerful. Because what's that going to do for you? It's going to change your future. Even if you don't build this business. It's going to change your future, which will change your life and the life of those around you, because you're setting a better example. And I'm not saying you're never going to go out and have a drink. That's not what I'm saying. But a lot of you young guys know what I'm talking about. You sometimes overdo it, right? And some of you have totally given up. Whatever. I mean, but that's the power of a system where I never said anything to anyone. It's just, I love it. It's just amazing. I've seen too many lives change for the better. Anyone that's in this system for 6 months or more, it'll change your life whether you build a business big or not. You'll be better. You'll be a better husband. You'll be a better wife. You'll be a better son or daughter or parent. You'll be a better worker at work. Every aspect of your life, because of what you learn in this positive environment as we get our self-esteem about us. And you see, sometimes it isn't just about the money. Money isn't the most important thing in the world, although I do think it ranks up there with oxygen, all right? It's better to have more than less. Let's be honest. But it's not just about that. It's about changing lives. It's about helping people get their belief in themselves and become more positive. It's people's lives that are in stake here. It's not just about money. But the money's there for you if you want it too. See, what did you see when you saw this crazy thing? I mean, and it's taught us how to budget and be careful. Talking about investing and not just spending money and blowing money, so that someday you can blow as much as you want, actually. Then it becomes fun. I'll tell you what it's done for me. Have you ever and maybe some of you guys can relate to this, because when I first got in this business, I didn't tell my mom I loved her. I mean, I knew I loved her. But I didn't think it was a manly thing to do. So when she said, I love you, I said, I know. Especially my grandmother. And I never, when I was younger, she's not around anymore, I think back all the time, she goes, I love you. I know, Mom, Grandma, thanks. I say thanks instead of I love you back. Because sometimes we just don't think it's a cool thing to do. Because we're manly, you know what I mean? Now, a lot of you guys probably don't connect that, but that's just me. It was 6 months of this thing. I'm like, I can't believe I can't look my mom in the eye and say I love you. Well, I got over that. I can say it to another guy. Now that was really out of the ordinary at the time. You see, there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, there's a lot right with that. But we're just not always taught that, especially as us macho guys. Well, it's made a huge difference for me, that's all I know. And you know, if you could just impart some of that stuff on the new person that first night to see that this is the most exciting, unbelievable, powerful, duplicatable business on planet Earth. Wouldn't it be great? But we can't. So all we can do is draw the circles and try to capture the essence of this thing in 60 minutes. It's difficult. So we talk about making money and getting people excited about a dream and hope that they'll educate themselves. And thank goodness, you know, all of us got educated, and that's why we're here tonight. We took the time to educate ourselves and really understand the big picture of this thing. All right, now, and here's another thing before I finish, one more thing. When you saw this business, did you realize that some of your kids, and many of you young people don't have kids, but you're going to have them someday, if you want. I know some of you are going, that's one of my goals not to have. Whatever. Some of you beat to another drummer. There's nothing wrong with that. But many of you are going to have kids, and some of you already have them. Okay? And I've seen this happen so many times over the years, because not like the traditional kids that grow up and have heroes that they don't even know, or sports heroes that might not even be setting the right example. No, your kids are going to grow up around a system, and they're going to see mom and dad build a business through sweat equity and a lot of frustration and some tough, frustrating times, all right? But fight to build a team and to make a difference and give it away to a lot of people. Establish a work ethic and do what others aren't willing to do. Do you understand the power of that example for those children? It's amazing. It makes a huge difference in those kids' lives and the adults that they're going to become because of the example that their parents are going to be doing. And many of those kids then indeed do grow up in their heroes. Instead of some sports figure or whatever, somebody on TV. No, their heroes are some of the emeralds and diamonds in the business, or their upline platinums that they get to know and love. Or their heroes are their parents. And that's the way it should be. It's a beautiful thing. And you know what? These kids realize that as they grow up, they got to find mentors that are going to make a difference. And they're not like other kids. My kids aren't like other kids. You know, they've learned a lot. It's just powerful. And you know what? They know that there's other choices, there's other options. I'm not saying that, you know, they're not going to go to college. You should get a good education. Nothing wrong with that, okay? And get a good job. But along the way, there's other choices and options. And how many of you heard of second generation building the business? It's so common today. That just gets me fired up. Instead of just doing what everybody else is doing and join that 95% club. We know the 95 to 98% club that's going to work till 65 to 70 and still not have anything. That's the facts. So it gets so exciting when I think about that stuff. These kids don't have to join the only I would have, could have, should have club, right? It's amazing. And so one more thing that I think is powerful is it's about learning to do the right thing. Even when the wrong thing would benefit you the most and nobody else would know, you'll still do the right thing. It's about character integrity, and that's what the business teaches us. You know, it's pretty difficult to see all of this the first night, but fortunately, Lynn and I did see enough to take it to the next step, and you always in here saw enough to take it to the next step and get educated, and I'm proud of you all for being here. But I'll tell you what, it has made a huge difference in our life. And we're just getting started, like I said. And I want you to understand this, too. Just because we've built a business to a large level, that doesn't make us perfect. I mean, we're far from it. But we're a lot better off than we would have been. A lot better off. And Lynn and I are getting better every day. We got growing to do ourselves yet. But we've come a long way. And you know, some people kind of think we're a little nuts, right? What's the matter with you guys? There must be some cult. What is it, like a cult? Boy, I wish it was. I mean, if it was a cult, everybody would get in and do what I said and go diamond in 2 months. Yeah, right, it's a cult, right? But I'm the first to admit, yeah, we are a little crazy, because if you take people from the coffee shops and the living rooms and the parking lots and the gas stations where we meet them, those places in America, and you put them in front of this business plan, and all of a sudden, you give them that glimmer of hope, you get them that excitement, you realize that they start to realize they might be able to change their destiny, and they start listening to a few more audios, and they get around a function like this, and then they get around a bigger function like coming up next month, they're going to get a little crazy. And that's exactly what we need to do, is let's have fun with life. Let's get a little crazy. And you know what? I've never known a lot. You hear this, I've never known anyone who made any money in this. Well, you met somebody tonight if it's your first time here. Okay? We've made a lot of money in this. Okay? Todd's made some pretty doggone good money. Greg has. And many of you are coming on. But you need to be with us next month, where you'll see hundreds of millionaires and thousands of people. And when you walk into an arena like that, all of a sudden, you don't scratch your head and go, I wonder if this will work. It's just a matter of you're going to go, I can find 3. I don't care how long it takes, but I can find 3. 3 and you're free. 6 and you're rich. I don't know. It's all about choices and options. You know, and it's not about and here's the great thing. It's not about those people, those millionaires. It's not about us. It's about the guy and gal across the U.S., across Canada, and now all over the world. It's about the guy that's making an extra $300 or $400 a month, or $600 or $700 or $1,000 a month. Because for most people, that's a huge difference. And there's thousands of stories across the country like that. And many of you in here are making that kind of money because you're on your way up. $500 a month would make a huge difference to most people. I think the statistic is it would keep most people from bankruptcy for an extra $500 a month. That's the story that needs to be told too. But you don't hear all that. But it's out there. I think we saw a video earlier. How many? 300,000 in the U.S. and were paid bonuses last year. In the last few years, they paid out $4 billion. How in the last 10 years was it, or 4 years? That's a lot. Anyway, a lot of money paid out. So anyway, it goes back to the dream. Where are you going to be in the next 2 to 5 years? And as I started tonight, the question isn't do you want to do it, but would you like it if it worked? And remember, on those frustrating times and those days when you're all alone, remember some of the things you heard tonight, because there's so many blessings from this business that you can't put a price on. You cannot put a price on what this does for someone's confidence, their self-esteem, their relationship. You cannot put a price on so many of these things. And so get fired up. Find something you can get passionate about, and remember some of that stuff that I just referred to when you get frustrated, because this is the best thing out there. I'll stake my life on it. I have, and we're going to continue to do it. And so for those of you who continue to press play and read 15 to 20 minutes a day, not a big deal. And counsel with your upline, and stay in communication, and attend and associate. We're going to have a lot of fun the next 5 years, and we're going to have a lot of retirement parties, and you're going to be with us on the beaches of the world. You guys can do it. Have a great night. Yeah.